because this is like the nature of it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this one out first. Save, and I'll just call this one entertain. Wow. Okay, so let me open. Yay. Aw, isn't he cute? Look. So, to get into, just so you guys can see, like when I'm painting on a material, of course I could start with a base material, but sometimes you just want to paint on something, right? So I could do it either way. I could either drop a fill material or I could pick one. But when I'm painting, I'm actually painting with a material. Whether I make my own version of it, or I'm starting out with one of theirs. So I pick a material that I want to paint with. And if I'm going to make my own, I typically start out with something like the plastics, like either matte or pure. And then that gives me my foundation that I can tweak from. So in other words, if I click this glossy one and I'm on a layer and I paint on that, see? So I'm painting that material in. Now, when I pick it, I can change its parameters. I can highlight whether I want to paint color, height map, roughness, or any combination of any of these. So if I paint height, and then I scroll down to where the height color is, going to the right bumps up, going to the left bumps down. So if I want to push this in, you see that? Check that out. So right here, watch this. Okay, my little friend, let's do this for you. I'm going to paint. Check that out. I could even paint symmetry on him. So I turn on symmetry here. And I'm painting down in there. If I want to paint up, I move the height map upward. There. I'm not sculpting it. I'm just painting in a material that is going to treat the lighting as if it's pushed in or out. Did that work? So that's how I could start to do it. And then I could change whatever, let me undo that, change whatever properties on this material I'm painting with. So I could make it so that instead of a blue, uh-oh, Matt, he's gone evil. Or, once again, I could bump that inward. And I could make it, do I want it shiny or not? Right? So I can make it metallic, like a car paint. See that? Where this really gets kind of cool, though, is if I wanted to do something like bring in a vehicle or something and then drop these materials and start tweaking them out. Right? Now, another cool thing is I can drop in any of these materials. Now, watch this. Here's where we see the smart materials happening. So I'm going to pull in this machinery smart material. And we see that. Now, this is what the curvature map is doing. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So if I go to these properties like rust, you can see I can turn it off and on, right? But if I click on the alpha of the rust, and then here's the mask editor, and change, look at that. So I can have it start to rust over time, or change every instance of it so that it's more or less on some objects than others using that smart material. I can adjust the dust, the dirt. I can even change the color of the metal itself. And then on top of that, if I have a layer, let me get back up to the top, add a new layer. And now on that layer, I could choose a regular material like maybe there's iron. And now I can actually paint that into certain areas. And once again, I want it to bump down. So I would make sure that my height map is turned on in the material. Push that down, and now I can, there we go there, right? Or, this is where it gets super cool, is now I can change the alpha of the brush I'm using. So now I can say, well, wouldn't it be cool if I did something like this? Look at that, see? I could change the size, turn off symmetry, the intensity of it, see? Look at that. Isn't that cool? I can even go in and look at different brushes, alphas, which you can import your own. So if I chose something like this, and instead I'm going to do it like, let's change the parameters. So I'm going to make this yellow, and I'm going to make this bump upward. See that? And now you could start to see how you can really detail some cool stuff out. See? Oh, isn't that cute? Kinda. So when I'm going in, I have so much control over this stuff. Of just creating and adding what I want to a model, but I have to bring it in. It has to be UV mapped. And then I can do all sorts of cool things to it. If I go in and say, you know what, let's discard little Matt, and we're going to bring in a totally different character. Where is she? File.
So that was Substance Design or Substance
Painter. Designer, we only had made the ambient occlusion and that other map from.
Is Substance a fairly new software, or is it an older one that's been around for a while?
A few years, maybe like 5 years, 10 years, maybe, give or take. But it's a little less than 10 years. I'll just do it this way. File, export. Yeah, that'll work. Oh, she already is. Fine. So I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to bring in something. Let's see if this works. Because I want to bring in our little friend here. Alrighty. There we go. Substance, you can download it, has a subsurface scattering material also that we can create, and then it will give you the opportunity of painting and utilizing subsurface scattering. But okay, I'll start off with a simple human skin material. Oops. There we are. I accidentally put human skin on her eyes, and that was very disturbing. So, yeah, not a fan. Not cool. There we go. Check that out. So here's my subsurface scattering layer right there. So it's trying to emulate that a bit. But yeah, so then I could just start to create new layers on top and start painting things. And anytime I do, just remember I can have as many layers as I want. And then I can literally just go in. I like to start off, like I said, with one of the plastic materials and then just tweak it out. Because right now, if I just paint on there, wow, that is some serious lipstick right there. But then I could go in and adjust the parameters that I might want. And of course, unless it's ridiculously glossy, that's a bit much. So then you would adjust the roughness to it. A little bit of shine on there. Oh, what, in Mudbox?
Yeah, like what you did there, just
In Mudbox, when I painted her,
No, like making the sculpting the islands.
this was sculpted mostly in Maya, and then brought in as a low res, and then sculpted out. So the low res model was made in Maya, and then it was some of the details and stuff was then sculpted in Mudbox. Now I could do it if I was actually starting inside of here in Mudbox, and then I would just you could see how you could start to shape things, but the general idea is that you would I would use subdivisions, Shift D, take it up to like level 3, and then I would start to using my brush, start to define certain areas. I'm using the bulge, and in Mudbox it's Control left mouse, it's B left mouse button, left to right, which changes the size of the brush. M left mouse button, just like in Maya, to change the strength. And then I would just start to shape this out based off of the shape of the face that I wanted, and start to define it. Ideally, I would have a picture that I'm working off of, so I could start to shape it and get the shape that I would want. And then also use the grab tool to start to, to start to shape how I would want everything to be. The ear, I could cheat, because there's a thing, I don't know if it's subdivided enough, but I could go to the Sculpting Brush, and there is, where are you? A stamp of a human ear. And you can see the controls here: S, right mouse button, middle mouse button, left. And I essentially line it up. It's this guy right down here in the stencils. And then if I crank this up, I can literally just sculpt an ear right into it and then tweak it out. And then I could use the grab tool and start to adjust it and smooth out some of the areas. So depending on the angle that I actually apply this on, it's going to give me a different result. I just want to line it up so that, see? And start to get it in the shape that I want. And then for something like the mouth, I would start with like the knife tool. Turn off stamp spacing, because that's maybe turn on, but just a little bit lower. It was too high. That's better. The interesting thing, and I could tell you, it's going to look weird at first, that's okay, is that you're, once again, and this is the biggest thing with artists, you're not trying to get things perfect with the first stroke. It's going to look funky at first. Your goal is just to get things roughly the shape that they're supposed to be and then fine-tuning them. Oh, that's what you, absolutely. Now, right now, I know it's doing this weird kind of funky lips. That's okay, because we're going to fix that. Because I'm going to use the smooth tool to start to blend this in a little bit. And then I'm going to use a very nice tool with the sculpting, which is this edge. And when I use this edge, this is kind of neat. I have to crank up. Oops, not the sculpt, or not the smooth, which I added on the sculpt. That's why it wasn't popping up. Oops, hello. Turn off randomize. Yes, sir. Hold on one sec. There we go. And as I start guiding this, look at how it's shaping. Do you see how it's starting to shape the lips? And then I use this pinch and the smooth tool to help soften this out. Let me turn that down a bit. And what you'll start to see, it's starting to look more realistic. Just by bouncing between some of these. And I'm really rushing it. I'm not taking my time. But the general idea is that I'm starting to get that definition that's in there. I would have started like a little bit larger. But then I could start to get those details out. And I'm rushing it a lot. I'd normally go a lot slower, but the general idea is you just start building up, but ideally you would have a character or something that is I'm basing it off of an image and I'm sculpting from that. And then I can actually get a lot more detail and stuff from it. Oh, that's right, that was somebody's. So just keep that in mind, that it's a slow build up. You're not trying to rush and have something in 2 minutes. unless you're just demonstrating the tools. But the general idea is you build up on that. But